Hey, this is Emily at Oz Inflatable Kayaks. I have here the Quest Angler and I have the IATAK. Both really high quality inflatable fishing kayaks, but very different. In this video, I'm going to go through all of those differences, but I'm going to give you also a summary at the start to kind of go, here's the decision process that I would go through to decide which one is right for me. So my advice is start with the Quest Angler as the one you're going to get because it is significantly lighter, much easier to pick up, carry, and whatnot. It's better for paddling, and I'm going to explain why. And it's quicker and easier to set up. But don't get the Quest Angler if you want to stand to cast. So the IATAK is amazing for this. I'm going to show you some footage on that. And don't get the Angler if you are either very wide or very heavy. The IATAK has better rigidity, better capacity, and a wider cockpit. Now, there are a lot more details as to the differences between the two, and we're going to dive right in now. But the lightest thing, like anyone that's watched my videos, you would know that the lighter the kayak, the better. It makes a huge difference to your motivation to go kayaking if the process is going to be quick and easy, and having something light really makes a difference. So 14.5 is by far the lightest fishing kayak on the market. The IATAK is actually not too bad, like 22 kilograms for a fishing kayak is pretty good, but there's a reason that there's no picture of me holding this kayak. I can't lift it. And if I can't lift it, that means a big chunk of the market can't lift it either. Now, with the wheeled bag and all of that, it's actually 26 kilograms all up. And that's a lot of weight, you know, particularly if you're trying to tow gear and whatnot with your vehicle. Sometimes people need to get their weight down. However, it's got this gem of a feature where it's amazing to stand to cast. And it really is amazing to stand to cast. This is me doing it, okay? The reason you can do this in the IATAK is it has this ergo boost seating system. So really comfortable seat, raised up against the full drop stitch sort of floor there, and you can fold the back forward so that it becomes a booster seat. Pelican are actually putting this seat in a lot of their hardshell fishing kayaks. That's how good at it is. And it really works. Like you can see me wiggling around in here. The balance in this kayak is exceptional. The full drop stitch construction makes it extremely rigid. And getting up, see how I'm almost sort of horizontal there with my thighs. Getting up from a seated position, a perched position we'll call it, is significantly easier than getting up from the ground equivalent, right? So very effective, not a gimmick. You really can stand to cast in the IATAK. You cannot do that in the Quest Angler. The other big difference that I mentioned was the capacity. So they're actually the same length, these kayaks. The IATAK is wider and it is full drop stitch. We'll talk about that in a minute, which means it's more rigid. And so the capacity is over 100 kilograms more. And the width is significantly wider. That's why we say if you're very large, you're very wide, you may feel more comfortable in the IATAK. I mean, a capacity of 180 for the Quest Angler is still really high and certainly beyond the needs of the vast majority of people anyway, but you can visibly see how it's narrower across the beam. Now, I mentioned full drop stitch. So drop stitch is where the chamber is stitched top to bottom all the way through. It allows you to inflate that chamber to very high pressure to get basically a firm, flat chamber. It's what they make inflatable stand-up paddleboards out of, where you've got all the weight in one point and you need the board to stay rigid. So rigidity is the key. Like when you have full drop stitch, you get a really rigid kayak, and a really rigid kayak usually means that it goes really fast and it tracks really straight. And the IATAK is no slouch in the water. It's got this displacement hull. You can see how it goes down into the water, and it's got a fin. You must put the fin on with the IATAK, whereas the Quest Angler, you don't need the fin. So it's a bit more of a hassle, but it is quite effective. One thing to note, see how high I am in the kayak. We'll come back to that. There is a waggle in the IATAK. It's certainly less than most fishing kayaks on the market. You can see the displacement hull, but you can also see, if you have a look at this. Okay, so I'm high in the kayak and the kayak is fairly wide. I'm having to kind of, you need a long paddle. I'm having to kind of reach down a bit. See how my blade is not fully in the water there. The paddling motion in the IATAK is not, for me, as good as the paddling motion in the Quest Angler. Partly because the kayak is significantly narrower, so you don't have to go as far to get the water. And look how much lower I am in the kayak. the reason I'm lower in the kayak is the center of gravity being lower is what gives you better stability in a narrower kayak. So the stability in the Quest Angler is excellent, even though it's, narrow. You can just flop yourself in and out. But that lowness means that the motion is better in the Quest Angler. Also, it goes a bit faster because it's lighter, significantly lighter. So if you can imagine trying to get the momentum going in the IATAK takes a while. And you saw the amount of kayak above the waterline here. You get more wind effect in the IATAK than you do in the Quest. The Quest is very minimally wind affected. It's very low in the water, and you have the awesome drop stitch keel in both the bow and the stern. So this drop stitch keel comes into the water, both the bow and the stern, and look at the tracking you get here. See how it's peeling the water aside? I do not have to put a fin in to get this performance. So it's fast, it's straight, and it's minimally wind affected, and it's a more comfortable paddling position. It is, in my opinion, better to paddle than the IATAK. The other thing I mentioned in the decision-making process is the setup. The Quest Angler is 6.5 minutes, the IATAK's 10.5 minutes. This may not be a decision point for you. I would strongly recommend for both of them getting an electric pump, and you may say, I'm just standing there while it's pumping up. And you can easily shave a minute off the IATAK by not putting the rail system on if you don't need the mounts for that. That's a personal thing. Me personally, I hate putting fins on. So I love the fact that the Quest Angler doesn't need the fin, partly because they're fiddly to get on, but then you also can't put the kayak down. You have to get the rear into the water. Mounts, now they are different in what they come with in their mounts. The reason this wasn't a decision point was I think they both have pros and cons, and you can make them work. So this is the Quest Angler. It's got 2 universal mounts on the front. So the universals are suitable with both the Scotty mounts and with the Railblazer. They're right up the front, and you can reach forward and get them still, but they're right at the front so that in the paddling motion you are not knocking a rod. I always laugh when I see them in the middle there. So you've got those 2, and then what you've also got is a significant amount of space in the back and D-rings for crates, things like Pelican Exo Crate, Railblazer, Gear Hub. That's where we found most people are using their rod holders in those sort of devices in the back there. Now, when we look to the IATAK, there are mounts everywhere. You could mount so much on this kayak. It's almost crazy. I'll go through them. You've got the rail, the accessory frame on the front here. You do not have to install this, but it does come with the kayak. The grommets are already installed for you, so you can just slide it in. It's a 1-inch rail, so anything on the market that can clamp onto a 1-inch rail can be used here. You've also got universal mount behind you here, in front of you here, right in front here. This one's good for a drink holder. And you've got a camera mount at the front here. So I'm not exaggerating. And you've got all the room in the back for the crate with the D-rings. So you can go to town with the IATAK in terms of mounts. They both have the EVA foam flooring, but the IATAK has the ruler in the middle, so it's not a full coverage like we see on the Quest. Okay, now the Quest Angler comes with an anchor trolley. Anchor trolley is an amazing device that it comes with one on each side, I should say. It comes with 2. It's an amazing device that allows you to specify what direction you want to face when anchored with a current. So you can imagine the frustration of wanting to fish at that tree, the base of that tree over there, but you're facing that way, right? Insanely annoying. So you can use this pulley system, and it's on both sides to change your angle. This does not come in the IATAK. The reason I didn't put it in my decision making was you can go ahead and put one on. If you really want one, or if you really want 2, you can go ahead and glue 2 onto your IATAK. Comfort-wise, the IATAK does have it with the aluminium folding frame seat, but both of them have adjustable foot pegs. And what we've done with the Quest is try to give you the best seat we can that's not a folding frame seat. So it's still really, really good. And in my opinion, 95% of people will be really happy and comfortable and supported with this seat. So the base pad there is removable. I actually prefer it out in the Quest to get that lower center of gravity, and the good paddling angle. But we included it as an optional thing that Velcros on and off, so that if you have tight hamstrings, for example, and you want to have a bit of lift, you can do that. There's also extra stiffening in the back to give you better support. There are 2 adjustment points to get that right support, whether it's mid-back or lumbar spine. Then we've got the D-rings really high, Okay, there's nothing more annoying than having the seat pulling you down with low D-rings instead of pulling you forwards. So really, really good seat, even though it's not an aluminium folding frame seat. The other difference is the IATAK has pressure release valves. I love this. I love that, if your kayak is over-pressurized, it will release pressure. But you also have to use your common sense, and I probably wouldn't rely on these. So when I say common sense, these are inflatable kayaks, and air pressure is relative to temperature. So when you're in the water's keeping your chambers cool. When you come out of the water, sometimes people come out and they just leave their kayak, and the temperature goes up and the pressure goes up, and you end up with damage to your kayak. So the key rule here is if you're coming out of the water and you're not packing up straight away, always release some pressure and keep it out of full sun. If you do that, you're not going to have problems. So in summary, like I said, in my opinion, go with the Quest Angler. It's lighter, it's better for paddling, it's quicker and easy to set up. But don't go with the Quest Angler if you want to stand to cast. I've shown you that the IATAK is amazing at that. And if you're very wide, very heavy, the IATAK is an absolute tank of a kayak. Both of them, by the way, come with a fin box. The IATAK, you do need to use the fin. Quest don't. You don't. The reason we put a fin box on was a lot of customers buying fishing kayaks want to be able to attach a propeller. And both of them come with a bung, so they're easy to hose out, okay? Easy to clean after fishy mess. So I'm a huge fan of both of these kayaks. That's why we stock both of them. If you have any questions about which one's going to be right for you, please get in touch. This is Emily at Oz Inflatable Kayaks.